And that is that our data suggests that as the government starts to coagulate or shrink down relative to the amount of money it can spend, as most of the rest of the nation goes into unemployment and hyperinflation, some of the barriers that are between us and what the shadow government holds secret are going to fall. And some of those secrets may come out in time in order to radically change our paradigm and kick us all into an entirely new view of the future and where we will fit into it. It's quite probable at some level, I don't know, it's certainly possible, but the level of probability we could assign a number, but it'd probably just be speculation. But it is probable that the government won't be able to maintain the secrecy apparatus because it won't be able to afford it. Okay. And the real thing about secrets is that they're all interrelated. So once they start coming out at the periphery, they're going to just basically tunnel right into the core, and there's nothing that the government or the officialdom can do about it. In spite of the fact that we've got one of the greatest secrecy structures on the planet, the sheer mass of the things that they're keeping secret works against them under times that we're about to face. So it may be that for instance, we find out that, oh geez, the United States, the populace here has been paying for and refining free energy and anti-gravity since the 1950s. And, now's the time we can let it loose. That stuff has some possibility of, or some level of probability of occurring.
So what does this be like, leaks out through the internet of disaffected individuals, or?
Some of that, but also we're going to face a really nasty period of time where we have food riots here in the United States.
Okay.
The situation on the planet is not good. We've got a collapsing biosphere for the planet as a whole, an unstable environment. That instability is not generated by us, and I doubt it's even aggravated by us, but it's certainly going to affect us. And it already has. If you look at things from the way that Buckminster Fuller, for instance, and other aggregators of information look at them, we're in the 8th year of a collapsing food chain, where we're having less grain output every year than the year before. Past year has been very bad for the production of food and of all different kinds. This food problem is going to actually get to the point where, combined with the death of the dollar, we're going to have starvation and potential famine here in the United States. Some of our data suggests that during food riots, some areas of what is now nominally in the control of the U.S. government and actually is owned and paid for and controlled by the shadow government behind our government, some of these areas are going to be looted because people will think they're vast storehouses of food. And instead they won't find food, but they'll release some of this other information, and once that process starts, there you go.
They'll find vast warehouses full of file cabinets.
Well, not necessarily even that. Who knows? Maybe a big hole in the ground with a couple of spaceships for all I know. But What we do know is that they're underground, and they'll be rather shocked. But again, once it hits the internet, then it's there for everyone, and it starts this process going. So, for instance, we have data that suggests that there are going to be food riots in Rome that will lead to the sacking of the Vatican. And the opening of some of the Vatican's secret hoard of library material, simply because people will be so desperate and starving for food at one point here that there will be large masses of people shoving around looking for things to eat, and they'll go to areas that are guarded, assuming that that's what's there. The data seems to suggest that we're going to make both a quantitative and a qualitative leap as a species and go into something that could best be described as a fractal or asymmetric governmental organization. Imagine, if you will, a situation in which you are not dependent on anyone for the energy to run your house or your vehicle, and that you can use your vehicle because it's anti-gravity and costs you no energy to go anywhere on the planet at any given moment. There's your reliance upon and need for government intervention at all levels falls by the wayside. And it's at that level that we will come out of all of this because of what's going to occur over these next few years. Also, take as substantiated or at least evidentially provided for postulate that such energies and such technology exists, and our government's been perfecting it since about 1956. And so when the barriers to that information and technology fall away, there is going to be a level of renaissance on this planet that's quite staggering. But it won't require a central government, nor will it require necessarily a country called the United States.
It sounds like under that situation, it wouldn't almost require a centralized anything.
That's pretty much the case, and that's why we've been for years discussing what we've been calling SOCs, SOCs, or self-organizing collectives. these self-organizing collectives come together as is needed to get something done at a community level and then disband when not needed. Unlike our current government, which comes together when they can make us think that we need them, and then they never disband in spite of the fact that we don't need them anymore.
Right.
You know, we're carrying laws on the books that were written in the 1800s dealing with specific financial conditions that no longer exist. That kind of thing.
Sure.
So the new paradigm, if you will, that we create as we come out of this transformation is up to all of us to put together, because we haven't invented it yet and no one's going to hand it to us. But there will be something that you can be quite sure of, that the idea of centralization, as in a large, quasi, mostly benevolent, patriarchally based political elite, has seen its last days, or is in the process of its last days, and when we come out the other side, we won't need them anymore. And so I doubt we'll recreate them. And so in that sense, the question is not really pertinent, because Europe will be going to this fractal, asymmetric, or holographic sort of organization where everybody has as much information as is needed to do anybody else's job, so to speak, and has the free energy and the capability to do it as we go forward in time. Sort of like really the basis for what the Star Trek whole concept is about. I'm not even sure we'll have money once we've got the free energy devices.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like it's going to be like you say, it's a paradigm shift almost of every single thing that we take for granted or base our current activities on.
And that's, I think, is what is really at the core of a lot of the fear that everybody has, because we're headed there whether we like it or not. And really, to a certain extent, a lot of people surrender control to government saying, oh, I'm very afraid of all of that. Here, you protect me, you guys just go out there and take care of